me to speak about spirituality, she burst out laughing. I'm a pragmatist. I share the responsibilities of running a fairly large mechanism called the Wiesenthal Center, all the rabbis in town. By the way, Rabbi Weil, when I became the president of the rabbis almost 15 years ago, it's a 5-year term, Rabbi Krauss, my Rav, said to me, Mazel Tov, Rabbi Meyer, to be in charge of 100 rabbis, Mazel Tov, because you'll need it. The question of spirituality, though, I think is an important question. Not necessarily because I want to mimic what David Suisse said, but because I think it's a challenge for all of us. Any of us who come in contact with young people today, see what's going on at every day school, right, left, center. Kids trying to understand whether there is a Ribono Shalom in the world, and not coming to the conclusion necessarily that we want them to come to. And I think that that's a serious reflection on our own performance, on what they see at home, and what they see even by those of us who are charged with giving meaning to life and understanding meaning of life. But I found it interesting that Siv, Hamikover at the end of Parsha Shalach, which I think is very important. And the pasuk goes to Surah Kurei Rebavtem, and the Siv brings an important pasuk from Shlomo Melech, Koheles. Shlomo says, "The halach b'darchei libcha." You should go follow the path of your heart. And the Tziv writes something here which is almost extraordinary when you contemplate. The Tziv writes that people have a choice in this world as to how you're going to focus your energy in Asiyas HaMitzvos. Not everybody is going to dive into Kriyat Shema with the Kabbalah Sol Malchus Shemayim that's necessary. Not everybody is going to keep the Shabbos and understand that there's an opportunity for such a spiritual uplifting. The Jew before Shabbos is not the Jew after Shabbos. So the Tziv writes that you can choose a focus, you can choose a direction. And he also says that not only can you choose the direction, it's okay to choose that direction. And it's right to choose that direction. So for me, as an example, I would have to say that I'm not the most spiritual person. I sit in the sukkah, follow every halacha, know all the halachos, prepare all the halachos, answer all the questions that people ask. But for me, sitting in the sukkah is an opportunity to contemplate what my responsibilities are to the tzibur. And that's okay, because the Tziv says that I have a right to determine what my role will be, what my focus will be, what I want to major in within Yadus. And of course I have to say, what Rav Shechter underscored many times, you can't pick and choose the mitzvahs, you have to do all the mitzvahs. There's no such thing as saying, well, I'm focusing, I'm majoring on this, I'm majoring on leadership, I'm majoring on Tzorchei Tzibur, I'm majoring on these areas, so I don't have to put on my tefillin that day. That's not true. You do. But the idea that a person can say that the most extraordinary statement ever said in American history, ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country, is a spiritual statement, and a statement that can work for us on a spiritual basis, and works for me on a spiritual basis. Allows me an opportunity, a person who may not get it, because I'm a rationalist, I'm a pragmatist, may not get it by the day after day mundane, I don't use that term, but day after day routine of doing mitzvahs by rote. This gives me an opportunity to meet my own need, my own expression. And I saw a number of beautiful quotes. And first of all, before I say that, I just want to say it's an honor to be in a room with survivors. We're here with survivors of the Holocaust, and that's a spiritual moment for me, that itself. To sit in a room where there are people that are coming to learn 65 years after the Shoah, that are still an example for all of us, people who built this community in which all of us are free to enjoy Yadus All of us, even those of us who are here 30 years, came and are standing on the shoulders of these survivors, and to see them in the room is a spiritual opportunity for me. I think there's some beautiful comments and an interesting statement that resonated to me. There was a writer, never heard of her before, who wrote, "I consider myself more exportant than important." The person who feels that what they do for the tzibur is more important than what they do for themselves. Beautiful comment. More exportant than important. And Rabbi Meyer always tells me, and Rabbi Cooper's here as well, we talk all the time about what it means to be a partner with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's our mandate in this world, to be a partner with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Rabbi Meyer can speak on this for 1,000 hours. And you know, we live in a world of technology, and I once had an opportunity to speak about wireless technology, and I said that the first case of wireless technology in the history of the world was way before Al Gore discovered the internet. The first case of wireless technology was in the Midbar. Aaron HaKohen put on an Urim V'Tumim. He was told that you need to speak to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you put on your Urim V'Tumim, you take a piece of parchment, you put it inside the Urim V'Tumim, and all of a sudden, the lights are going to start flashing. This stone's going to flash, that stone's going to flash, this stone's going to flash. And we know the famous story where Shmuel's mother goes to daven for him, and the lights are going off. Eli's trying to figure out, this lady's crying, a crazy lady sitting at the Aron Kodesh, hours and hours on end. And he doesn't know. Is she normal? Is she not normal? Today we would say for sure she wasn't normal. So he says, okay, I better do my trick. I'll puts on the Urim V'Tumim, takes out the parchment, puts the parchment in. All of a sudden the lights go on. Wow! Uh-oh. It comes out Shikora. She's a drunkard. But unfortunately, that wasn't the truth. She was a kashera. And if you just put the words, jumble them back in the right order, she's not a shikora, she's a kashera. Total different meaning. So I asked you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, 3,000 years ago, came up with wireless technology. You put a piece of parchment into the Urim V'Tumim, it starts, lights go wild, lighting up. We couldn't light it up in a way that we could know for sure that it's kashera. Do the chaf first, bells and whistles, put the music behind it, good chimes with it, then do the shin. What is it that there's different ways of reading? I don't understand it. You did 99% of the effort. Do the 100% of the effort to Rebbeinu Shalom. And that's the meaning of spirituality. My idea is that we get to be partners with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Rabbi Meyer also always talks about the proverbial ish, the man that Jews run into. Usually refers to the ish that Yosef ran into, who told his brothers to go to Dosef. Now my grandson's bar mitzvah was in Parshas Vayishlach, and if you go through Parshas Vayishlach, there's a lot of names in Parshas Vayishlach. A lot of names, Esav's children, Yishmael, all the children are there, named. All of a sudden you come to this Parsha, and he meets an ish. There's no names left. They exhausted all the names. So he's called an ish. And if you look, you know that your ish is actually in 3 parshas. There's an ish reflected in 3 parshas in Bereshis. Yaakov fought with an ish, and Yosef is an ish. Yosef is referred to as an ish. Because Yosef, and I think this is, if I'm correct, this is the Rav's comment, that a person who's there to serve a community, a person who can choose this way to express their religiosity, that's an ish. And that's okay. So with the Nitziv's idea that you can focus on certain things, focus more on certain things. You know, we talk about one mitzvah. There's the famous story about a woman in Siberia who couldn't arrange a bris for a child. So until he was 2 years old, there was no bris. And until he was 2 years old, he got no kiss from his mother. His mother wouldn't kiss him as an incentive to make sure that this bris takes place. A dedication to one mitzvah. I'm talking about dedication to a concept of leadership. Here's a dedication to one mitzvah. A woman wouldn't kiss the most delicious thing in her life for 2 years until such time as she found one person to do the bris. I have a lot more to say, but I don't want to take all of Rabbi Feldman's time. I'm interested to hear him. Yadus is a complex, very complex experience. Baruch Hashem, we are gifted with years to master the challenge. We're always preparing and practicing and trying to get better at it. And I applaud my colleagues, the Rabbanim, the heads of the OU, for taking this topic. Because as I look in the schools, my wife's school, the Eula, which I was involved with for a number of years, it's all the kids. The kids aren't tied into what's important to us. We're just challenged to get our kids to understand that this is the greatest gift of ours. That we see a survivor stand in a room, the survivor's putting on tefillin after what they went through. And our children are not ready yet to accept it. I'm not talking about, we have a balabas in the Wiesenthal Center, doesn't know that Hebrew is read right to left. He tells me, Rabbi, I have the greatest news in history. You'll be very proud of me. I started to put on tefillin. I don't have time during the week. I put him on Shabbos morning. It's a religious experience for him. It's a serious religious experience for him. I wish our kids had these religious experiences on a regular basis. I wish all of us hatzlacha and nachas from our kids, and all of us should be zochet to have kids that buy in and understand the beauty of what Torah is all about.